Greetings, everyone. We're back around the table today for another episode of the Pokey Factor. We are going to kick this off with what everyone has in their pockets. So today, I was carrying my Griptilian. I was out on the lake playing in the water and stuff like that, so figured a nice, hardy workhorse of a knife that if it did take a tumble into the water, I didn't mind if it got lost. Who's next?
I guess I was also out on the water, but I like to carry something a little more. When I get the chance, I want to. Yeah, just a little more.
A little more.
Bravo 1.25 with the 3V steel. It's got the fire rod. We did go shore.
Or little diamond sharpener?
Not fire rod. Yeah,
No.
it's a diamond sharpener.
Yeah.
If you chip 3V, you're going to need a diamond to fix it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And we did go to shore, and we had some lunch, and we were hoping to maybe have some fish lunch on a fire. And so I brought it in case we had to process a little wood for fire. That did not happen, though. So, but it was a beautiful day. All right.
But watch for my channel, because there will be a little video of the adventure coming out at some point soon. Okay, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Joe.
Sticking with 620.
Is that what you had last week?
Yes, it is.
You're so boring.
Hey, it's either this or the Sabenza.
That's
He's
not
not
true.
allowed to call people boring.
That's not true.
Yeah, okay.
No, but I've got a lot of boring stuff.
It doesn't mean it's
Not
not
just
boring.
you.
My collection is much smaller than yours. It's not fair.
Until I'm
Yeah.
between that M4 on my Gil Bradley, I think this and the Sabenza are pretty much tag teaming a day in, a day out.
You're gonna force the patina on that bad boy?
Just to protect it from my gross skin.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I'm carrying something a little special today. Morgan from the video last week.
At Stanawa, however you say
Saint Genoa?
Yeah. I'm not sure how to say it.
Morgan. The guy's
That's
name's
the one.
Morgan.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can get it somewhere on the internet. It's his Rask. He gave me a pen from, I want to say it was Urban Survival.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, Urban Survival to anodize, and I'm going to anodize it to match the Rask.
Mhm.
So I've been carrying that and just thinking about what exactly that color is and where on the spectrum it is.
I'm gonna go with pink. It looks like it's got a pink hue.
So what
My
you want me to
vote
do?
was 61 and a half.
Okay.
So what you're telling me is you want me to make the pen pink for Morgan?
Well, of course.
Morgan, it's been decided.
It is decreed.
This is out of our
It will
hands
be
now.
so.
Yep.
You know how they say that people's eyes have different spectrums, and it's like, sorry, that looks like the same color to me. Did I do a good job?
Is that the problem?
It's
you
matching,
can't see
right?
colors properly, so it's like gray.
Great. Yeah, exactly. That's the easy way out. It's
Did
just
you
gray.
Did you trade your eyes out for a dog's eyes?
Yeah, maybe just my last one.
Fair enough.
You're all terrible.
But funny.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so now that rambling little tirade is over.
Show on the road.
Never.
So we're here today to talk about our ridiculous aspects of our collection. What is the most silly, the most insane, the most useless, whatever it was, they are ridiculous.
Where are we starting?
I'm not sure exactly where to start. Let's go with stuff that actually gets carried on a regular basis. So let's put Joe on the spot.
Okay.
Because when it comes to the most ridiculous, all of ours are just part of the collection.
He gets
and Joe's
extra.
like, oh yeah, this is in my pocket today. And
Yeah,
check
he-
this out.
He
Yeah.
gets extra ridiculous points for
So,
what he
I
carries
think,
as a regular.
we should start that. Yeah.
Do you guys want to see the most ridiculous or the runner-up first?
Most ridiculous.
Ooh. Do we want to switch it around and go runner up?
Let's go runner up. Yeah, let's
runner up.
We did most. We did,
Yep.
for the top three, we did. Yeah.
Yep.
Curious to see if you guys will agree with me on this, but the runner-up is actually the Black Talon 2.
I totally agree with this decision.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous decision.
It's so silly.
It is.
But between the two that I've chosen, this is the less ridiculous of the two. So, for you guys who are not familiar, CTS XHP.
I'm doing it right now. Like, it's Jesus for the love of, like, all of the cutting power with this Talon Claw blade.
Like, it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That thing terrifies me.
Yep.
I need an adult for this one, right? Seriously.
It's a little bit scary.
Like, there wouldn't be any situation if somebody pulled that out on me on the street where I wouldn't give them whatever they wanted.
It's like, oh, okay, that's how it's going to go down. Here you go.
And if they happen to wave it
Yeah.
off of the non-asked for Emerson wave that Lynn Thompson just put on the Black Talons. Or was it Demco?
It was Andrew
Demco.
Demco.
Yeah,
I
the
think
plate
he
is a
actually,
Demco design.
I think he actually has a patent on that thumb plate being
Yeah.
the way it is.
I do
Which is
agree with
funny
that.
because we were talking about Terzola with the thumb plates a couple episodes
Thumb
ago.
discs, though. His never had the weight piece.
Yeah, they didn't come off.
That's almost as sneaky
And they were
as
round,
stealing
right?
an Emerson without an Emerson. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
So one of the ridiculous things with this guy is it is flat ground on both sides, but it's actually chisel ground.
it certainly is.
So it bites very, very quickly.
The angle of cutting degree is stupid.
Is
for
sharp.
lack of a bad.
And because of that, sharpening this thing is a little bit stupid. I'm
Yeah.
kind of happy it's a chisel edge, chisel grind for the bevel, just so that I don't have to fully sharpen both sides. Reason why this is runner-up, though, it actually makes a decent gardening knife.
I can see that.
I've lent this to my mom, and I've used it with her in the backyard, turnip
Oh, that's an
roots and
awesome
pruning
image.
things, and it's actually, you know what, it's great for that stuff. It's just, it's ridiculous.
If we ever go looking for morels and you don't bring that with you, you're gonna be very upset.
And then as
Absolutely.
far as the lock, it's triad.
Sure is.
Yep.
Yeah.
They
And
generally
careful with
have
your
some
fingers.
I was
sort
going
of
to say,
lock
the
stick.
swing on it is, okay, the swing on it is low enough that if you were to collapse the lock and had your finger forward, you
can
can
catch it.
stop it. But that is
No.
the scariest
I
thing.
wouldn't play that
Slice the
game.
brother open,
No.
like,
No.
That's-
like that,
Yeah.
right there.
So that's usually how I actually close this knife, is keep my finger here, and then as long as I'm pointing up,
You-
it catches.
You better be comfortable with your.
Yeah. Oh, and you can Spidey drop it, so that's also a thing.
Joe doesn't mind getting stitches evidently.
Well,
Well, yeah.
like, yeah, just crazy.
Mm.
And this is not factory. Out of the box with these things, like I said, I need adult supervision to play
Yeah.
with one of those. Like,
So,
It's like a velociraptor in your pocket.
yes, and keeping in mind what it was designed for, rip and tear, it does, yeah, it slices beautifully. But day-to-day tasks, it looks so menacing.
and okay, just to dabble on ergonomics, as far as putting it in the hand and making it a functional line, that's why it's a runner-up compared to the other craziness that we offer. Is when you put it in your hand, it actually feels not bad. You can
Yeah.
put your hand on the thumb,
Yeah.
you can get, and even for everyday box cutting stuff like that, the tip
Oh,
on
yeah.
this thing can definitely
Oh,
dig
yeah.
in. Yeah.
Good luck getting permission to carry that at work.
Depends where you work, right?
Yeah.
God bless what we do for a living. But
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
I have to say as well, how thin the handle is overall. This disappears in the pocket in a way that you wouldn't expect.
It is a very
That's fair.
discreet.
Okay, as far as disappearing in the pocket, I was about to ask Paul, where is the scale that we can check
Oh,
this
yeah.
bad boy out? I'm
Get
curious.
some weights on
While you're
this.
getting that there.
As
actually,
far as
let's see.
disappearing in the pocket goes,
So we're looking at a thickness of 9.9 millimeters
for the handle.
for the handle, which is
Okay.
pretty thin.
Mhm.
I can't read the numbers here for that guy, so
4.71.
for a knife, that's nice. That's
4.71, so it's under 5, but a lot of people put the 4 ounce or the 4.5 ounce as the kind of the over the limit. So
No.
4.7 on this guy, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and there are no steel liners. This is just G10. It's not milled because each scale is thin, like 2.95 millimeters. There's no milling internally, and there's a aluminum backspacer. So they tried to keep it as lightweight as possible.
Which makes sense with a blade like that.
It's
Blades
not a
taken up.
small thing.
No.
Well, and for what it's designed for, I hate to say it, but the lighter in the hand, the quicker and that it
100%,
is going to be what this knife is designed.
You
Yeah.
want the momentum up here anyways, right?
Jimmy,
Yeah.
like it's
It's a nasty piece of work, but I got it because it was half off.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, CTS XHP.
If you ever see like the cold steel videos, I can only imagine what this kind of
Yeah.
what that would be.
Yeah.
it's gross. It's gross. The cold steel videos, I mean, like,
Yeah, in general.
It's like I actually like the ergos on this knife way more than I thought.
But
Put a regular blade in that, that'd be a really decent knife.
yeah, runner up. So,
So
We should
runner up
keep going.
So the reason why this was
well,
the
what are we
runner-up-
gonna do? Everyone's runner ups?
Yes.
What do you guys think?
Okay,
That's
Or-
we were thinking we would do everyone's. Okay,
I think we
good.
should, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. Set that one down.
For sure.
all right, so
Is it me?
okay, we can do
No,
it.
go you. Well,
No,
you already had it in frame, so it may as well be you now because you've already breached the wall.
Oh. Womp,
You've
womp.
doomed yourself.
But mine actually is functional and
It is.
gross.
That's functional.
You're runner up. All right. Anyway, runner up. It's ridiculous, but I love it, and it's
Mhm.
more than functional if you understand the blade. It is the large Tom Brown tracker. Black coating has been taken off. It's been washed down. There's been some contouring on the handle, mild to do a palm swell. I find it quite nice for chopping, for sure. I
Catch a knife in the face.
I was just like going to pick up the drinks.
There's
with
a
that.
lanyard.
Safety first.
because
Safety first.
because this knife needs a lanyard.
Well, when you're choking back on it, as
Yeah,
Tom
for
Brown
that chopping
instructs
grip.
me to do for a big chop
Fair
in
enough,
Paul's
fair enough.
face.
Poor
He's
Paul.
so scared. So scared of me killing him with a Tom Brown tracker. Which is funny because in the movie, totally, this is the knife that you need to kill someone with.
Yep.
Which movie was this?
The Hunted, back in the
Oh,
90s.
yeah,
this is
that's
what
right.
made this knife famous.
97, was it?
I'm not sure. Stat check
Okay.
that one.
Yeah,
being one of those with the year.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Off the
what do you
computer.
guys think? Let's. It's my knife, so I already love it.
Yeah.
So.
It is ridiculous.
It is a little ridiculous.
So I'm
Wow.
going to say it's in the ridiculous category because it's the largest of the 3 sizes, or did they start making a 4th as well?
This is the largest. They did make a 4th, but it's the same size with ATS 34
Okay.
stainless instead
Okay.
of 1095.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
So,
like $100 more. It's so stupid.
so it's the
stupid.
largest, and it's most ridiculous because of how thick it is.
Yeah.
Joseph with the calipers over there.
Mr.
That's why I'm trying to point at you
Calibrated.
going calipers.
Do some caliber rating.
Calibrated? No, I haven't calibrated. It's 6.2. 6.18, but 6.2.
Okay,
Inches?
so for
So,
inches,
millimeters.
just
Millimeters.
Yeah.
yes, it's
Yeah.
6 inches.
so
Yeah.
Like,
for curiosity, convert it just to give it for
Yeah.
inches. Because we've got both American.
6.2. It's around a quarter inch, just underneath a quarter inch.
Yeah, it is a thick
So-
beast of a blade.
For me, it's the features that make this thing ridiculous because it tries to do so much with so little.
But if you know how to do it and what
Oh.
you're doing with it, it is
Absolutely.
such a good tool.
I still have the opinion that this knife is an excellent jack of all trades, master of like it still has this saw blade for notching. It has this little hook here that you could use for carving. You can skin with this.
That hook is
absolutely,
awesome for feather sticking
Yeah,
and limb
that too,
stripping and
I was going to dabble
debarking.
on
and-
that, and I'm like, yeah, you can't say master of none when you physically watched me feather stick with the hook on
That
the
is
back
true.
of this thing to make spirals.
Mhm.
that
It makes
were-
fantastic feather
Yeah.
sticks.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, well,
Um,
I'll rescind that then. Yeah, it does a few things really. And I mean, as far as chopping goes, there's so much meat.
There is a whole section of the internet that believes what Joe is saying right now, though. Like,
Of the
Yeah.
master of myth.
yes, yes.
My only con to this
Mhm.
knife is the weight factor. And if you want a master of everything, you've got to have some chopping power, and you've got to realize that you're carrying a hatchet on your back,
Yeah.
more or less.
I can't.
Like a,
It's too heavy.
Too heavy for his scale.
Yeah.
Well,
what does your scale go up to?
More than this thing.
Less than that.
What happens
Oh,
when
yeah.
you put it on? Does it say,
It just
Error.
oh, okay, too much?
Yep.
There's just too much to it. So Bing with the weight.
Yeah, we'll find that out. Or Joe just grabbed his phone and we'll look it up
Okay.
here.
But other than that, what do you think of this bad boy? Because Paul or Joe or this guy over here,
Yeah,
you're
Joe.
Paul, he's Joe.
Yeah.
as far as when I
Oh,
first
good.
saw it and stuff like that, I was very much of a similar opinion.
Mhm.
I was like, I can see where it does a lot of things, but usually when you have a tool that does multiple things, it doesn't usually ever do most of those things well.
Mhm.
Like, multi-tools are great, but they're best for their pliers. All the other tools
Yeah.
are,
Yeah, there's kind of a bell curve of
Usefulness.
usability and multitude of tasks it can do, and
Exactly.
yeah, at some point they just drop off.
This does a better job with the swapping between tasks than I expected it to when I first saw it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the more you play with it, the more you can find new techniques with it.
Yeah.
If
Yes.
you sit down the first time and your brain goes this and this and this,
I think Joe found the weight there.
I did. 21 ounces or just under 600 grams.
Jeez.
so a
Jesus.
pound and a quarter, give or take, is what the knife weighs.
That's a lot of
Now,
steel.
That being said, I think
It's
this could,
literally
do,
a hatchet.
this could do just about as much, if not more, than my kukri could. And the kukri is a lot heavier.
Yeah.
Maybe the kukri is a better splitter,
Yeah. Yeah, as a specific splitter, definitely the kukri would be way better. The cold
Yeah.
steel, nice and thick one. But yeah, just with all the multi-use aspects with this guy, yeah.
The boring tip for digging, things like that, the skinning ulu, which the last one I had actually had a lanyard from my wrist up there to tuck it in. I've reprofiled this like I reprofile other things. I kind of want to put my
Where's the
money
paper?
where my mouth is on
You
this
should.
one.
Kind of. We
How-
demand it.
How thick this knife is? Okay, we've got skinning belly here. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
stupid.
That did way better than I thought it would.
For a knife this thick, and once you get it up into the front of
Right
the
to the
belly,
tip. Mhm.
yeah, that's where the money is. And then for the middle cleavery part, oh, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's so thick.
It does not cut paper. Well, it cuts paper decently for how thick it is, but man, you should see that thing chop.
Oh, you know, that's
And
not
I have,
actually the worst
and I
thing I've
haven't
ever
touched
seen on
it
this
up.
thing.
Would it cut newsprint, do you think?
On the front
tip,
half of the
yeah,
belly,
yeah.
You're
It
getting
would
some pretty
potentially.
fine cuts.
for a 1/4 inch knife.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the hollow grind that starts here.
That's what I was going to say too. Actually, was the
And-
fact that it's a 1/4 inch thick piece of steel.
That's
And
a
I'm the
thick
first
chip,
one
too.
to say that the
Mhm.
blade geometry on that is that you're compromising some cutting ability to get more weight behind the full thickness of
Mhm.
this for the chopping ability
Of
and
course.
the versatility behind it. And that's why up on the front you'll notice it's probably got a better skinning tip
Mhm.
is because it doesn't have as much of that crazy grind, right?
And I had mentioned how this one was the largest. They do have 2 other smaller sizes, and how this one compromises because of how thick it is with the edge geometry and the cutting power, but gains the chopping power. The smaller ones lose the chopping power, but are a little thinner, so they gain cutting power.
Yeah, and the middle-sized one definitely can't
Mhm.
slice. If you reprofile that ulu blade on the middle one to this,
Yeah.
Would it be unreasonable to carry like the full size one and the smallest one together?
yes,
I think
I would
Mhm.
go 2 sizes, and I would go with the baby one as a neck knife or
And
something.
that's what I'm saying. For like the smallest one and the largest one, could you get away with using them both?
You could, but the small one is simply a neck knife, and
Yeah.
I would do some serious like Scandi grinding.
Oh,
all the
yeah,
way
yeah.
around.
I would think that if you're going to go that small anyway, go with a specialized knife that does one thing particularly well, like a little caping blade or a specific.
No doubt. I'm
To
just
make
wondering
up for
if it
whatever
would be
this can't
possible to
quite
get
do.
away with doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One more thing I got to comment on before we're all said and done. The back is actually meant to be a scout carry for righties. It's actually meant to be right here with that squawking noise, and when you put it in and slide it in, it's coming off of your back. Now, one of the things that I love as a lefty is that also means with that squeaky noise, that becomes a straight up and down left hand draw.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I put this on a belt clip. I love it. I love it. I don't have
Yay,
to
lefties.
modify anything. It gives me the lefty option because I hate scout carry. I
Me too.
hate it. I hate it so much. And the fact that they're like, no, this needs to be carried scout carry. I'm like, no, I'm left-handed. I get to carry it normal, like regular people should with that. So I love it.
Mhm.
Scout carry drawing is fine. Putting it away,
Yeah.
such a pain in the ass.
And then there's all the horror stories you hear about people falling on their knife and causing back damage and stuff. And
I don't
Yeah.
like leaning against things and not knowing where my back is. More than anything else, it becomes cumbersome on my back itself.
Makes
Well,
sense.
I'd also be
So-
worried about something snagging. With a knife this big, you're going to feel if like, oh, a pound has disappeared off my back.
You
But
will
with
feel that.
With a smaller knife, even more so, I'm not a fan.
Mhm.
So crazy, but I love it and it's fun, and everyone should get some Tom Brown of some sort and
Yeah.
overpay way too much money to do it.
Or
'Cause-
at least do a little research and see why it is such a useful tool tool and why it is such a weird shape and design and stuff.
And dive into the rabbit hole of the ridiculous controversy that is Tom Brown. No, don't do it. Don't do it. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
You'll be
Go
gone
back.
for days. It'll be like the Matrix, blue pill or red pill. All right.
Anyways,
Let's do it up.
sure.
All right, ridiculousness.
For my runner-up, it is this crazy, weird machete thing that my brother brought back from Cambodia, I believe it was.
This is the runner-up.
Yeah, yeah. If anyone can read that writing on there, let me know what it says, because I have no clue.
It's like the term machete thing.
Yeah.
Well, what else do you call this?
And it's got
machete
this
thing.
handle, so depending on how long you want to make your handle.
Yeah, it is a hand-forged piece of steel that they rolled a tube up for a handle, so you can fit some sort of shaft in there if you like.
Don't.
Small shafts, big shafts, all kinds of shafts.
Long shaft, short shaft,
Whatever shaft emporium over
whatever
here.
your needs
Yeah.
are at the moment.
Whatever your shaftal needs are.
Jesus. So, speaking of, do we know what this is all about?
Whoa.
Nope. I do not.
There's gotta be reasons.
I'm sure, but
Is it like
It puts a little
almost
bit extra
ball?
mass at the tip. There's a couple different things it could probably be used for.
but
Sure,
why
why-
would you do that
Instead of
split?
just rounding it, keeping that shape.
Okay,
there.
Yeah.
so because Cambodian, I'm going to go out on a limb and say some sort of farming implement, some hoeing, turn it around backwards on a shaft.
maybe.
Use this for
I can
doing
see
like
that.
Also like tilling.
rock and
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Because this is for cutting. I don't know. Like I'm totally making stuff up here.
I was even thinking about like if you're carrying it in the bush and you don't want to necessarily cut the branch, but just pushing the branches out of the way.
Show them
Yeah.
the audience.
Well-
you dirty son of a.
But like actually like pushing things out of the way with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could be walking in the bush and just getting the brush above your head out of the way.
I could see that.
So manipulation tool, a pot holder for the fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
People talking about
Yeah.
bushcrafty, like, and not ruin your temper edge as long as it's upside down, and you could,
Yeah, so you get the extra mass and you
Yeah.
get all those other bonuses out of.
I could see that.
Hey, that's a manual differential temper right there. Normalize the backside of your blade.
Yeah.
and
That's
as far as the
terrible.
steel goes, let's go somewhere between L6 and 5160.
Yeah. I'm going to say straight up leaf spring out of an old Jeep or something. And generally speaking, those are considered a 5160 range.
Look at that beautiful handle right in there. We got a comment on
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I
I
just-
could zoom in on that and some nice even work on it.
I was gonna say I love the fact that it undulates down the whole spine.
Get the focus in on the beautiful.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you can definitely tell it's handmade.
There was a man sitting there with a hammer that made this ridiculous piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Throwing.
Yeah, so I was just about to jump into that. Being up in North America and how I don't sit in the farm or work in the farm, this is a throwing toy for me.
Yep. I was just gonna say, looking at how this is so discolored right by the tip here. How do you like it for throwing?
It is interesting to throw. It's kind of similar to throwing a kukri, as if you get any little bit of a twist going, because of how the blade is offset to the center line. If you get any twist going, it catches the wind and just goes all sorts of weird.
So you have to be a little more careful when you're releasing it, that you're keeping it along that straight and
Yeah,
narrow.
nice and straight. But as long as you stay nice and straight, it is a fun toy to throw for
It's
sure.
so heavy though that the momentum, as long as you got it straight, will make it thunk something.
Is it
fierce.
difficult to keep straight?
No.
A little bit.
We could try after this. Yeah.
A little bit, but as long as
Son of
you
a
keep
gun.
it straight, that head will pull the straightness
Fair enough, yeah.
out with you.
It's all about the head being pulled straight. And this tip, just a little game called Just the Tip, it likes to sink.
I can imagine that would land really nice.
So even if you over rotate a little bit, this guy here will do some good jobs. Yeah.
So yeah, if any of you know anyone, or if you're going on a trip to Cambodia, Thailand, any of those sorts of countries, visit the local artisans and see what sorts of weird things you can find for yourselves.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're going to pay for the uniqueness of it, and you're going to probably overpay, but you can barter a little
Yeah.
bit, maybe get some cool deals. But you can find some cool stuff that'll probably have more of a story than it will the collector's piece. And the price for having a cool story
Well,
is
if you find
is
the
worth
local
it,
artisan
right?
versus finding like the tourist trap too, you might find something for a really, really good price.
Yeah.
All right,
Mhm.
Paul.
And for me,
Last but not least,
let's
go crazy. It's not even crazy. I hate the fact that this is on your crazy, ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
No, I love it. I'm sorry, Lynn Thompson. I'm sorry for everything we're about to say about this piece. I apologize to you now for making a beautiful, beautiful knife that we're about to rag on some viewers.
I love this knife. The fact that it is a user is why it's my backup. My
Runner-up.
My runner-up.
Yes.
It's actually functional for you.
Yes, and
Okay.
I have taken it out in the bush.
So here's a question, though. Why is it the runner-up for your most ridiculous?
Why is it on the ridiculous scale for you?
Because it's like 5/16 of an inch thick.
So
It is
if we're going to turn it on a little something.
like it's gonna be right up there with your Tom Brown.
Yeah, pretty close.
Okay, but the shaping on my Tom Brown. I have other knives that are this thick.
7.6. This is thicker than the Tom Brown.
I also have a Trailmaster.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it. There's not even any close way for it to be.
No, we all love this knife.
I love this knife, but for what I use my knives for, 9 times out of 10, this is ridiculous.
Mhm.
This is not something. This is something that I get more use in my kitchen than I do out in the field because I don't end up in the field all that often where I'm going to use something with this kind of length to it.
Okay, so my issue with that is that's like saying that my axe is ridiculous because I only get to use it a couple times a year.
But
Your axe might be ridiculous.
Well, I have a Cold Steel Trail Boss. It is ridiculous.
I don't know. I think a better way to compare it would be like a car collection. Like if a guy has a car collection and they're all like regular, like he's got a Nissan, a Subaru, a Toyota, but then he's got that special like fancy McLaren sitting off in the corner that he drives 3 times a year.
The McLaren's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
This thing is a little ridiculous. As far as my collection goes, it's a little silly, and that's why I bought it.
Mia's hunting in the background.
Yeah.
I almost had the Camp 18 here as a replacement for this because the Camp 18 at 18 inches long beats this out for ridiculous, but the Camp 18 was too much to bring around. The most of what this thing has been used for is literally like backcountry hiking, where it's a oh shit there's a bear or oh shit there's a cougar, and the bear spray didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have that.
Absolute last level of defense sort
Exactly.
of idea. Yeah.
Just to say, like, Cold Steel's Edge.
Oh,
Because Cold Steel's Edge,
this thing has been used in the.
You're going to cut a man.
Yeah. That's why I leave
I'm thinking about it.
Let's see this.
I'm glad you didn't get me to test the edge on this thing because it's
Oh.
horrible.
No.
The swedge is sharp.
The swedge is sharp. And I've used the swedge for a couple different things. I enjoy the swedge for a
that's been
couple different
used.
things.
So where were we? You were shitting on me for.
I totally was, because this shouldn't be on your ridiculous list. This knife is a legend. It's a part of history. There's other things that we're going to break out that are ridiculous.
Mhm.
If I had one of those, it would have been the.
There's a
the
reason that my own personal Trailmaster, because I love the Trailmaster.
I love this knife. I wouldn't own it if I didn't.
Yeah,
So-
it's a wonderful knife, but it's on Paul's ridiculous list because of comparison to what else is in his collection.
That's it.
Possibly because it's overkill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For what? For you, this
pretty
is
much
overkill.
everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I can understand that logic.
I've done so much things. Factory,
Yeah.
chopping wood got me through
I
bad
have witnessed.
situations
Yeah.
with a
I
Cold
have
Steel
witnessed.
Trailmaster. That, yeah, I can't be even consider. Like when I was considering, you guys saw ZT301 that had orange and black tiger stripes.
Yeah.
That
Tiger.
would have come out on Ridiculous
That is-
before a
that should have
Trailmaster.
That's fair, but that's why it's the runner-up.
Okay.
fair
At the end of the day, that's why it's the runner-up. It's because, as silly as this knife is, it's such a good user. It
Mhm.
really is.
I've had knives try to replace a Trailmaster. I've tried to find knives that I'm like, okay, that looks awesome. Let's try this out. And I try it out, and I'm like, I'd like my Trailmaster more.
Mhm.
I think part of it too, for me, is the idea that doing like batoning work and stuff like that with this knife, it doesn't need the sharpened swedge. The sharpened swedge really says to me that it's like a fighting knife, and it doesn't need it.
Okay, can you throw that knife back up just for 2 seconds because we're talking about the swedge? I have delimbed small branches. I'm making a tent pole. I'm making some sort of stake and something like that you need to take off small branches. And instead of using my good edge that I want to be batoning with, I want to be chopping wood, things like that. I'll flip it around with that and cut the small branches.
I can imagine it hits kind of like an axe at that point because it's the kind of angle that you're at.
And again, you're not doing any sort of impact to your primary edge. You're saving it and using that. So even as a primary function, yes, batoning, this does chew your baton.
That's what I was,
a little bit more, but it also has a lot of really awesome functions for bushcrafting other than just combat because it's holding in a reverse grip and yeah. A little something. I like to cut off.
That's the first place that my brain goes when I see it.
Yeah.
Is that reversed grip, chop, and like almost like raptor tear kind of thing.
But a lot of also functional applications.
100%. Yeah.
So, okay. On that note, we're going to go into the bests of.
Since I started us off with the Black Talon, why don't I start us off with the true most ridiculous thing out of my collection?
Drum roll.
Counterpoint XL. So, a few reasons why this is the most ridiculous. Reason number one, it has a 6-inch blade and it folds.
Okay, to put it in perspective, overall length is bigger.
It's
Oh
not
my.
that much different than that.
No, it's pretty big.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I wear a large glove. This is a 1.5-hand folding dagger, which is
It's
goofy.
a bastard dagger.
It is goofy. So, Oz 8A. So edge retention is not going to be amazing, but it was meant to be fairly tough. I have chopped lightly with wood. That's about the most useful thing this thing has done. It is ridiculous. This is designed as a self-defense folder, and that's about all it'd be good for.
It's designed to be as sharp as you possibly can get it in your pocket and ready.
And you're saying about grip size, it's like a 10 and 2 finger grip, you mean?
For you. They're XL heads, yeah.
So the ultimate question, being a cold steel product, how does it throw?
You may find out one day. This isn't so expensive that I may not say no forever for tonight.
Try it. Oh, it's such a bitch.
It is.
Oh, cow.
I have built up a callus. You can actually see it.
I can't
from this
drop
knife.
shake this knife.
Come here.
Screw you.
Oh, what have you done? Hold on. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, so we were developing some lock stick, which isn't unheard of.
No, it's because if you start to pinch and then you kind of get it partially.
And depending on the
Yeah.
snap open too. I just picked up that Ultimate Hunter with XHP, and I am noticing some lock stick if you really crank on it.
For me, it's if you don't crank it. For this knife, if you snap it open, it's pretty easy to get it to drop. If you just barely open it,
I'm so much more
Then
comfortable
it's
with watching him drop
weird.
that knife than I am with Black Talon. It's
It's
unbelievable.
so scary,
I'm
man.
like this one, I'm like this one.
Doesn't mean I'm not uncomfortable watching you do it with this one,
oh,
though.
that's fair.
Okay, overall length.
Oh,
Ruler?
this
Do we have a long
No,
do we
I
have
don't.
like a measuring tape or something?
We do. Hang
12
on.
inches plus
Hang on.
some.
Well,
It's this big.
that's 9. This is roughly 7. So, well, what would you call that? Well, we'll wait till we have the actual tape measure
Yeah.
here. But I can measure the blade, which I mean, it's supposed to be a 6-inch blade.
All right.
Yeah.
Measuring tape.
Good old fashioned
Well,
band.
yeah, the Cold Steel says they measure from the pivot to
What
the
do we
tip.
got? Someone line that
I
shit
forget
up.
where I read that, but they measure from pivot to tip on that. So just under 13 inches overall.
Yep, or 12 and 3/4, or just barely over.
Blade is roughly 5.5 cutting, and then another inch to the top of the pivot.
Which again, Cold Steel likes to drop the pivots down a little bit so you can swing open them. Not saying that we would do that because we live in Canada and that's a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
But
The pivot has been
the
tightened
pivot is
accordingly.
not centered for particular reasons.
So I have carried this. I have used this as an EDC after I bought it, and I was like, "Wow, this is so fun!" And then after about a week, I'm like, you know what? Like, this is just so
It's a
unreal.
brick and a half in your pocket.
Oh
Like,
my
It's
goodness.
gotta be.
that's it closed right there.
Let's get the weight in.
Will it kill the scale?
Probably.
Is it a Tom Brown tracker in weight as well? No,
8.5.
Jesus.
It's not a lightweight knife.
No.
Okay, like the
Well, light
456
for the size,
CT is lighter
Yeah.
than this knife. 8.5.
Yep. Wow. Actually, out of curiosity,
8.55.
what's my carry today? What's the weight?
Not even close.
6.
That's funny.
Not even close. Yeah.
And this is a brick for some people.
Mhm.
I think it's a well-made brick, but it does have liners, but they're not steel. They're hardened aluminum.
Really? It's
Yes.
aluminum.
It is aluminum.
Interesting.
They're inset, so they're a little bit difficult to catch on camera. I think.
Well, you
Yeah.
can't see them in there.
They've
but-
got that kind of soft aluminum look to them,
Mhm.
like from what I can see. Then.
Yeah.
And then there's like the Baylox. What is theirs?
Grivex. Or
Drivery?
Grivery.
Grivery or
It's not a
Grivex.
Grivex.
Yeah, I think.
They're fiberglass reinforced nylon, whatever their particular version of this plastic is.
Plastic.
It's
Mhm.
plastic with glass fiber. It is tough. I have dropped it.
Insanely tough.
That's actually one reason why I wouldn't be too afraid of you guys throwing this, plus the triad. I'd just be worried about you guys breaking the tip.
It's on 8.8. We'll bend the tip. We'll bend the shit out of the tip because it's on 8.8.
On second thought, please don't throw it.
It won't break.
So
but
this is number one, mostly because it's overkill. It has a lock that just won't quit, which is great for a more medium-sized folder. But for someone who's not interested in the knife for a self-defense scenario,
Medium-sized.
if you've got a smaller hand, this is very much a two-hand.
well, no. What I mean is
Two-handed.
like for a large to a medium-sized folder, triad lock, fine, no problem. On this knife, being how it is, how big it is overkill.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That's what I meant by that. The grip is amazing. It feels super comfortable. It's nice and pointy. I do like it.
It's
but
got multi grip like holding spots too, right? Like
that groove,
Just because of how large it is.
exactly,
Yeah.
but it's designed really to you can hold it out close or hold it back
Mhm.
and use it both ways comfortably.
I think that's pretty much sums up Joe's ridiculousness.
Yep.
Still in the pocket realm, which the rest of us got a little out there.
A little
Yeah.
bit.
But yeah, still.
But Joe
That's
carries
crazy.
these crazy things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the difference
Yeah.
too, right?
which is kind of ridiculous.
At any
by
point in
itself.
time,
Yes.
you can ask Nigel, "Hey, what are you carrying?" And I guarantee he's not going to say this.
No.
I can't say the same thing about either one of Joe's most ridiculous knives in his collection. At any point in time, he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm carrying that. That's one of it."
We've all seen it. Both.
No apologies.
All right. So, is it me? We're going to start the controversy?
Yeah, we were going to keep the same order. May as well.
Okay. So, the controversy is that I was calling Paul out about his Trailmaster
Mm-hmm.
and how you can't put it on the list. But what you can put on the list is its bigger brother.
If I had a Natchez, it would be replacing the Trailmaster for
There
sure.
is a Natchez Bowie
Yep.
sitting in the table.
You want a ridiculous Bowie? That would be it.
This is the Trailmaster is a camp knife. This is not a camp knife.
No.
You can use it as a camp knife. I wouldn't. Cold Steel, Lynn Thompson has said repeatedly, you shouldn't.
You should try things like the Trailmaster if
Yes.
you want to use
Yeah.
a camp knife. I've heard it from Cold Steel's page themselves, right? Like,
It's got the thickness, it's got the length, but what it doesn't have is a solid tang. In this, it's
hang on, when it comes to thickness, Trailmaster versus Laredo.
Well, I mean, it's
let's
still-
get the thickness up.
Mine
first
wins.
here.
what I mean is it's comfort. It's a good thickness for use.
I'm pretty sure the
But it's
Trailmaster
thinner.
wins this battle.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does too.
Oh, 7.23,
And I'm 8.
7.6.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
0.4.
we got some hairs. We
Yeah.
got some hairs on the battlefield. Which this thing is good for, is on the battlefield.
Nice,
Yeah.
and flicky, lightweight.
As Joe was about to start mentioning there, it doesn't have a full solid tang. It's actually a little bit of a small tang into it, and it's a cable tang, a twisted cable tang into the end, and that's what you see at the end of the pommel there.
Can we stand it up?
And so this is to make it more malleable in the hand, easier to maneuver and redirect the point.
It's such a silly knife. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't have to zoom in that much
No.
because when I stood it up, it took up the rest of this space
That's
right
fine.
here. All right.
Comfortable handles.
Mhm.
And as far
Gorgeous.
as a quick, lively blade, we are all in very much agreement that if I was living in some sort of American Revolution, this
Wild
knife
West.
Oh yeah.
would be a game changer sitting on your hip.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul referenced earlier with his knife about how the look of it, he wants to do it in the reverse grip, and I bit my tongue then just to not spoil Dennis's surprise on what the Natchez was, or where his rankings were. But this is what I think of as a reverse grip knife.
100%. But
Yeah.
this would do 90% of what that would do,
Yeah.
I would say.
But in a combat situation, which is part of why I think you chose this as your most ridiculous knife.
Oh, undoubtedly. Like, when it comes to a practicality sense, I have no use for this knife whatsoever. It is not designed like the Trailmaster. It's not designed like other choppers that I have, a Tom Brown Tracker. It's designed as a quick-in-the-hand, nimble, I'm going to come into a dark back alley where somehow I'm going to get cornered by 4 guys wearing ski masks. Because no one noticed they were wearing ski masks.
No, not ski masks. Lucha Libre masks.
They better.
That's the only way they stand a
The
chance.
Wild West, they're going to be wearing bandanas.
Or that, yes.
And I can fight them off because I happen to own a Natchez Bowie. But the chances of me wearing that in that situation and Lucha Libre is also being in that same situation is why this knife is on the most ridiculous list.
Yeah.
Have you ever used it for much?
No, I have not. Because the balance, I can tell the balance on it is not from bushcrafting. It's not
No.
for...
Yeah, and as we pointed out, it has that cable tang in it. That's not what it was designed or built for. It wouldn't
for sure.
hold up to that sort of usage.
I have
so.
so
I
many...
had even meant like slicing sausage or anything like that.
Oh, I'm going to use it for food prep now that you
Oh,
mention
like
it. Yeah.
doing up
Oh,
a
yeah.
brisket with that. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
that'd
might
be
flip steaks
satisfying.
tonight after recording with the Natchez Bowie because we have a theme and these guys can post it on Instagram and you all see
Yes.
pictures of me. Yeah, I think it might happen
It probably
because
should.
I need to use this knife for something
Yeah.
other than
There you go. Now you
nothing.
got to use.
Yep.
So, and you might see me cutting into a steak and eating it fantastically with the Natchez Bowie tonight.
The steak is going to seem so tiny.
We'll see. Okay, I think that pretty much sums up my ridiculous. Everyone
Yep.
knows the Natchez. They know how crazy it is. I hopefully will have maybe some watermelon chopping videos come
Mhm.
Halloween
Oh, yeah.
because that time
Yep.
is coming, and I
Oh.
haven't pulled
No.
the Natchez. Oh,
You need to.
I've got other toys, my friend. And I have played with many, many of the other toys, but the Natchez might get a pumpkin chop or two just for
Mhm.
good time's sake. Number 1 on the list for ridiculous because impractical is not even the best way. I don't know. Something beyond impractical is the best way to describe
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's
Silly.
a little silly.
Yeah.
So yeah, for my most ridiculous one, it's a bit of a beast, and let's see if I can try and get it into frame here. It's a little heavy though. Trying to get it in, working it in. Oh no, wait. Okay, oh, it's not ridiculously big. It's ridiculously little.
It's so cute.
That is a little.
Okay, we're going to have to do this entire conversation zoomed in
So
because...
we're not going to pick this up and handle it just so we can keep it in frame. But the blade is about as long as my index finger, a little bit longer.
It is as
Yeah. It's not a big sword.
No.
I wouldn't take this to battle.
So why I love this thing so much, it was a Cass Holloway used to do a series of swords, and they are all hand forged, 1/16th scale, I believe it was.
That sounds correct, yeah.
Yep. Completely historically accurate. It's got rosewood for the handles, nice brass guard, nice end cap for the pommel, and giraffe bone for the handle.
I believe
Nice.
giraffe bone.
Yes.
I've never found anything to say other than giraffe bone, and I heard that somewhere along the way with the Honley catalog.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's correct. But these things are, schmutching, because there's a little bit of schmutchy.
Yeah, I've been handling and playing.
Swip it.
Swip it up.
Rip it.
Slower.
Whoa. It's a slow swipping.
This is a really cool letter opener. And now that line, I think you already said, but it's discontinued, right?
Yes.
Has been for years.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because they were so cool.
Yeah,
And they did all kinds of different styles, but I think this was one of the coolest.
yeah. They came with really nice little presentation stands for them.
Can you turn that with the ratings the right way and
Yeah.
show?
Zoom in. Every one had the markings and writing on it for. Come on, try and zoom in. Focus. Why won't you focus?
Lower it down a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
So yeah, it had the writing for what style of a sword and what era and time frame it was from.
Yeah. So super cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And to go on to the how they made these, there was these cheap $20 versions of. Not to be confused with the higher end ones. They made some higher end ones that were anywhere between, I want to say, $60 to $100. There was katanas, there was Viking swords. The Gladius is a great piece of work because of the intricacy.
Yeah.
All the rest of them had cool features, but I don't think it had the same combination that the Gladius did. So
I do have the English mortuary hilt as well as the French rapier in my collection, but I find I enjoy the Gladius the most. Like, my favorite out of the three that I have.
I can't remember if any one of us had the katana.
No.
I think that's the only one that whose handle might rival this one, just
Mhm.
thinking about the
Yeah,
detailing.
it did have, like, the katana one actually had proper ray skin under the handle, the proper wrapping of the knots for it, as well as having a clay temper on the blade.
So thinking about ridiculous, just keeping in mind where this came from, who made it, and what it is, I can totally understand why this is the most ridiculous.
Besides the size of it compared to everything else in my collection, because I go absurd with my throwing toys and the size of those and whatnot. So,
If you threw
and
this,
again,
I'd
we're
slap
gonna
you.
do.
Oh, God, yes.
We'll have to do a sword video, but it might have to be an outdoor on the back deck
Mhm.
video.
Yeah.
And we'll play with some swords and show guys some of the stuff in the collection, because when it comes to the bigger stuff that we can't fit on the table, we all have some of that too. But the Gladius itself, I want to say 5160 even
I
different,
think
or
so, yeah.
1566.
Yeah.
Like it's a properly forged blade.
yeah, like it was a good high carbon steel that they used for it, for sure.
And also, I was going to say that your English mortuary hilt
Mhm.
also has ray skin on the handle on it.
Oh, yes, that
All
one
of
does.
them did have different features. The Viking one did have a leather wrapped handle on it. The Tai Chi sword, I want to say, used magnolia wood
Yes.
for that. Like they all had some very cool authenticities
Yeah.
to them.
Giraffe bone, though. I mean, that's so cool.
And I hope that we're not like given a resource that can back that up as well for the
Mhm.
giraffe bone, because I'm not 100% sure. So if you do know, please tell us.
Yeah.
But somewhere catalogs. Some I have read many catalogs.
These things are like nicer than they have any right to be. Really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The amount of work that went into make that is
I want
amazing.
to see a scale.
Oh,
What
yeah.
does this thing weigh?
Is it
1/16 of a sword.
Let's okay.
And as far
No.
and as far as like the ridiculousness of like this thing having no right to be as nice as it is,
Yeah.
I had almost bought. They used to make little armor as well, fully articulated. The chainmail was like so tiny.
Links that were in the
oh,
same size as like the bottom of
Yeah,
What they should have been. Yeah.
yeah.
How many grams?
But yes, getting back to the
1.1
The weight
ounces.
thing.
How many grams? Can you switch it over?
Nope.
How many grams have we got?
31.
So, according to Wikipedia, a gladius would normally be around 700 grams.
So
and
what's,
this is
what's 31 times 16?
Well, here
Yeah.
first, we're going to do...
20th or 25th.
Well, 16th of 700 is 43.
So it's not that far off.
yeah,
still.
yeah, close to a 16.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously the density of steel, the density of the brass that they used.
Yeah.
It all comes into play.
Yeah. Physical
Thickness of
limitations of the
blades,
material.
things like that.
Mhm.
This was probably made thicker on ratio to
Yes.
stand durability.
Because
Right?
if we're looking at how thick it is, yeah, that's not proportional for a
If
traditional
you made it
gladius.
blown up and you made the thickness of what the blade is here, it would be rivaling some of the giant choppers that we have. I have a Celtic sword. We'll show that in a sword video, I'm sure. Anyway,
Mhm.
we'll go back to that.
But good pick.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so unique. It's so ridiculous because it's absolutely useless. Like, we don't even live in a paper age anymore.
No.
No one gets letter. Like,
I've never opened a letter with any of my letter openers.
But
Yeah,
part
that's
of what makes it so cool.
Well, yeah, I think the appeal to these was like, you can have an authentic 2-scale replica.
Mhm. Hand forged, handcrafted.
It's a sword that's completely handcrafted, hand forged that you can put on the shelf.
And this is nice because you don't have to get a full-size Gladius if you just want a representation of one that's accurate and
Yes.
authentic to a degree.
Yep.
There was a Norman style one that was just a black leather handle with black rings and just a round pommel too. Like, they even had classic medieval ones. But yeah, super cool.
So yeah, getting on to what Paul's most
All right,
ridiculous
last but
piece
not
is.
least,
The most ridiculous thing that I have ever bought.
I guess we're closing on this now. I'll do it up.
Benchmade D2 Infidel.
Brand
Fixed
new.
blade.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Infidel.
He's been waiting for that.
It's silly.
So just
Here,
because I just
let
said
me
it.
swip off the bleed blasting here. Bleed. It's
Yeah.
all about the bleed blasting.
So
On this knife, it would be.
like how Dennis mentioned last week with how he enjoys saying the Contigo. The Infidel is one of those names as well that you just gotta Infidel. I can't not say it like that.
Now this is based off of the out the front automatic version.
Of course.
Shunky shunky. All about
Yeah.
the shunky.
Yeah, which we are not allowed in Canada here.
So next best thing.
No
Yeah.
shunkies.
Which is why it has that kind of ball sack looking fuller on it.
Because the OTF version does have that same slide mechanism for the catch, I believe, on the internals is why it has it. So as a homage
Like the full
thing,
close kind of.
yeah, that's some sort of latch mechanism that catches that blade or whatever. And I'm not 100% sure on that, but and so with the fixed one, it was almost an homage to the folding version, is why it had that, right? So
It's just another thing that makes it that much sillier, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Is that it's got a nutsack on it.
it does. As far as thickness, it's a big chunk of D2 dual steel. So as far as the Pokey Factor,
Name
times.
Name drop.
All right,
Let's get
all right.
our
We're gonna have a drink here because that was bad.
So disappointed in
So
it.
3.6 millimeters, almost on the dot. So that's actually not too bad.
And in the middle of the palm swell because it's the same thickness.
Up here, 12.25. It's not terrible, and it's actually overall a fairly slim grip. Feels good.
So still thinner than the ZT in your pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not carrying this in your pocket, though. Let's be
No.
honest here. It's a boot knife. I don't even have boots to put it on.
That sounds like a
I
challenge.
don't even have
I
boots.
might carry this
to
in
put
my
it on.
pocket just to prove Paul wrong. We'll do it as a challenge. I'll carry it for a week
No, you won't.
in the
I'm
pocket.
calling it now. You won't.
I
No,
tried.
it's chisel ground. Can I sharpen it first? Can I polish the edge? Let's call it sharpen it. Can I repolish the edge and carry it for a week as a challenge? For the most ridiculous knife and you're not being
If
embarrassed.
you want to.
And then you should carry the most ridiculous. No, I'm just kidding.
I just wanted to show off the shape
Kydex.
with it as well. So it has a snap over. It does have a belt clip.
I love this curl clip.
Yes.
They are nice.
Yeah,
And I love the font for the word infidel. It's so silly.
That's terrible. It's a terrible thing. I'm gonna call it out right
I just
now.
like even the Benchmade
The butterfly.
butterfly
Yeah,
knife.
yeah.
It's
We
it's
should
well
zoom
made.
in on that if we can. Yeah. So you can see the butterfly. We're gonna flip it over for the infidel. Okay. Let's get some stopping on the wig with. Yeah. Good times.
It's neat.
Yeah.
It's cool. It has a drainage hole with right on the
That's
bottom.
actually handy for Kydex. I do appreciate the drainage
Yep.
hole. Yeah, we got it just because of the bad seaming, and I think all of Cold Steel stuff has it.
Yeah, mine does.
Yeah, just bad seaming. Anyway, that's fine. Don't worry.
You already had your turn.
Did you say overpriced? Anyway.
It's $10.95.
You already had your turn.
So I do appreciate that upon pulling this dagger from the Kydex, my thumb is already in place along the side. Less of a chance of me cutting myself. I've had a few knives in the past where if I'm here, I will slice myself. This gives it a little bit of a stop.
Nice.
Chisel ground though, boot knife. Don't have boots.
I love how you just commented on chisel ground because I was about to comment on we were talking earlier about why chisel ground is better than a flat ground or a saber ground or a hollow ground, in my opinion.
For this purpose.
For a dagger.
Yeah, for sure.
For a dagger in particular, I love the fact that it's chisel ground. Maybe not the concave that cold steel does on the counter tacks, I believe, is what they're called.
Yeah.
Is this a counterpoint? That's a
This is a
counterpoint, so the other one's a countertack.
Yes,
I know.
that is also how I remember.
So, because on a dagger, it's a relatively thick stock knife in the middle of the blade, and because blade geometry, the grind doesn't start until halfway down the knife, it makes it an inherently wedgy knife when you're trying to cut something with the actual edge itself. It's not a practical cutting edge, it's a practical pokey edge.
Of course.
And pokey.
It has a high pokey factor, low cutty factor.
Yes, yeah. I'm going to tap that like I should this time. Okay, tap it like I should. And that's what you do with the daggers.
So for all of those out there with a
All of
non-technical
those
talk,
purposes, it makes a great dagger.
standard grind, chisel grind.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're referring to by the edge. This is sharpened. This follows the grind off. Basically, it makes it more slicey.
Yeah.
With that in particular, a slightly more fragile edge, but when it comes to a dagger, which are inherently not good cutting knives, and I hate it when people want to be like, I want some sort of knife for hunting, capping, whatever type of thing like that, for a dagger, and I'm like, dagger's not a right choice for that application.
If we were in the
Why
Bronze
isn't my-
Age, yes.
Why isn't my dagger shaving sharp?
Because it was made for stabbing stuff. At the end of the day, that is why it was made.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why this is ridiculous and
So
doesn't need to be owned.
Yeah. But it makes it more practical. So again, compared to some of the other things in your collection, which I'm sure will come out to play eventually on episodes or two, when it comes to practical, I would take this over some of the other things that you have that are impractical in your collection.
Yeah.
I stand by it. I have no practical use for this knife in Canada. Changed my mind.
I'm going to reference Joe here because he carries a dagger on himself quite often, and he uses
Today
it
it's
for
a rigid.
But yeah, he uses it for all sorts of reasons, all sorts of scoring tasks. Keeps one good edge, one hard edge.
This one's not chisel ground.
No.
But it's a thin blade.
Oh, this is also...
Doesn't mean you
Very
couldn't
thin.
still use it for those same sorts of purposes.
But what we're saying about chisel ground is it would give you better cutting ability. So if you had better cutting ability, you can find more practical applications with
Yep.
the chisel
No,
ground.
using
until
it
I pull
for-
a dagger out somewhere and I get arrested. for it.
Like I
using
said,
it for leather work, using it for cutting paper, stuff like that. A chisel grind is really nice because you can get it right against your ruler and get exactly on the line that you're trying to cut on.
Anything that
great,
anything
but
that
I
you
don't cut leather, and I have other things that can cut paper.
1 week challenge.
I was trying to fulfill your challenge of other than pokey stabby factors of being able to use it for.
No, what I'm saying is it's a delicate edge because it is a chisel ground edge. It's going to be more delicate than any other thing I'm going to carry in my pocket. So it makes less sense for me to use this than it does other things.
You can't tell me that this is more delicate at D2 than some of the other things, like a Sandvik Rook knife that you own, or a pillar at Chromoly, or something like that. Even at a V edge, you can't tell me that that's going to be a stronger edge than D2 with a chisel ground. I have a huff, and what's the Rockwell, 60 to 62 for their D2?
Not that high on this one, I don't think.
Reference.
Bing. All right, we'll count on Nigel for that one. Anyway, yeah, it's not soft.
No.
Honestly, for the back to the practicality, I totally understand. As this is designed for like a combat, self-defense, military sort of role, yeah, there's less of a need for it compared to other knives, and this does limit the ability to. You can't put your thumb on the back of that in order to push cut through things. However, I have used smaller daggers fairly often for utility work, and as long as you don't have to do this, you're okay. But
I have stiletto blades and stuff like that I use in my collection.
Yeah.
That I enjoy that are very similar to this in a lot of different ways.
Thinking about the highlight, yeah. I can see why you would see it as ridiculous. It is an overdone combat blade, and it would do that job very well.
The only knife that I've bought recently that I haven't carried.
So it should still be, yeah.
Just curious.
We have.
Oh, Jimmy!
Uh-huh.
That's gonna rival some Black Talon action.
Of course it is.
That's
Chisel
good
grind
stuff.
slice is
That's
nice.
good stuff.
That's what I mean. In its
This is awesome.
like
Yeah.
reason for existing, it excels. I'm not saying that in the least, but for me and my practical everyday use,
I get you.
So yeah, it is a great, fantastic little knife, but yeah, it's very hard to find uses for it.
yeah,
You have to look to find uses.
And if you are going to use it, you're probably going to have to be discreet about it in order not to have people be threatened.
that's it.
Mhm.
But
I've tried carrying it like in like a dangly kind of thing where I've put an S clip, an S beaner on it, and it's still a little high. The handle sits high out of the sheath, so it wants to swing around and fall.
yeah, it does sit. Like
There
Yeah, the balance would be weird for that.
That's it.
yeah, so
Mhm.
But-
So lash it, use the clip, but apparently danglers are not a good option.
No,
No,
a pair
it's
of
made
boots
for
will
the
be bought.
boot.
all right, to round it out, the
Mhm.
number one ridiculous knives, going in seismic order.
In seismic order.
Yeah, that's right.
In seismic
It's all about
order.
how it shakes the earth. And when it comes to shaking the earth,
I think that one wins for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
the Mini Gladius, though, it changed worlds. It changed worlds.
Empires were built on this thing.
Letters were opened, sir. Letters were opened.
Or they
All sorts of documents.
Okay, I have to comment now because I didn't think about it. The most ridiculous knives all right now are dagger and or pointed shapes, except for me. I got some redneck in me.
That's
That's
pretty
a
damn
little,
pointy.
that's a little stabby. That's a
That
little
is
stabby.
pretty damn pointy.
It's probably sharper than the counterpoint is.
Yeah.
Actually. So,
Yeah.
Also, humorous that we all pick something as far as a ridiculous goes that has something with ridiculous amounts of piercing
Yeah.
tips.
Yeah.
We almost all have cold steel on our list too.
It was a close one for that, for sure.
Yeah, somewhere along the
Yeah,
way.
like my third and fourth and fifth choices were cold
Of
steel.
course.
And actually, something that you guys both drew a draw on was the Cold Steel Spartan
Yeah.
Yeah.
as far as the pocket knife because that thing's ridiculous.
Just a little bit.
It was on the table as a runner-up aside from this guy, but I think this was just a touch.
I'm going to resheet this thing. because
Yeah,
people need
I was getting nervous about the
adult
tip poking
supervision
up there.
with the matches going on. So, all right.
But yeah, that
Round
is
it out.
our ridiculous collection, or our most ridiculous things in our collection. Share yours, everyone. We want to see what silly things everyone else has decided to collect and has hanging around.
Post it with the Pokey
What he
Factor
said.
as a hashtag.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah, make
show us
sure-
the craziest thing you got.
indeed. Make sure once you're done watching the video, or even before you're done watching the video, but you won't hear that now anyways.
Hurry, you got 40 seconds.
Here, and then go back and pretend like you didn't watch.
And then you can
The
feel
last
real
20
smart.
Yeah, and like and comment and subscribe and do all those things that help us grow the channel to help keep you entertained.
Input. Thanks, guys,
Mhm.
for all watching. Whoever is out there that
Yep.
are watching us, we want to keep growing it. And we're going to keep doing what we're doing and having fun with it because
Indeed.
we are having fun with it for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got a couple commenters, want to hear from more of you, so please
Yeah.
jump in. YouTube, Instagram, whatever. We want to hear it.
All right. On that note, this guy.
Signing off is Nigel the Smith here.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
And I'm XL.ca.
Take care, everyone.
See you guys.